Next event.
We're, that guy over there, the one with the glasses, who's walking out of the door now, he said no. We tried to convince
guys,
him.
you blame me.
It took 2 weeks. At first he said yes, and then he said no. So sorry, blame him. But thanks so much for coming out, guys. Really appreciate it. This is our second workshop of the year and the last one of the year. And I want to tell you a little bit about why we decided to do the workshop. So J-Fit and I have been doing all kinds of events for a while, and between the two of us and our closest friends, we know almost all the producers, designers, and developers who have anything to do with games in the Bay Area. And we're like, all right, what separates the people who do really well and who get it versus those who don't? And we're like, hey, let's have an event, let's have a workshop every 2 months. We'll bring folks we think have been very successful, and they will talk about it and teach everyone else. And we'll see how it goes. Well, this is our second one, and both events have been sold out, so you guys obviously thought that we were onto something, so thank you. And now, speaking of people who get it. So, Blake Camagre is someone who I think really gets social games. He's been behind some of the largest social apps and games. He pretty much defined the social gaming category. Apps like Causes, games like Vampire, Zombies. And you know, the best part about Blake is that he's someone who really cares. Someone who really cares about you, the developer. So much so that when he was late on the presentation and he was like, no, I'm really going to do this. It really matters to me. I said, okay, if you don't do it, what can I hold you to? And he agreed to wear a French-made outfit to his speaking presentation today. Blake, could you stand up, please?
Is that the cleaners? I know.
So he's not wearing it, which means that he got the presentation in at 2 a.m. that night, or morning, rather. So without further ado, Blake, please come and present. So give it
part of what I'm going to talk about is telling you guys what has worked in a historical context on Facebook for social games, and give you guys just a little bit of history. I know some of it may not be terribly exciting. I'm going to try and not focus on what has changed and what is different and what's no longer worked, but more give you guys just like general concepts of like what consistently has worked through the years on Facebook. So let me get started. So for those of you that haven't seen me talk, I'm a little bit ridiculous. And if you give me material that I know isn't going to be like the best or the most exciting, I try to jazz it up any way I can. So I'm actually going to make this work. I'm going to explain to you why developing for Facebook was like having tantric sex for the last couple of years. I hope you guys can handle this with a level of maturity that I cannot. And I'm going to not hold you guys to, expect you guys to do a whole lot more other than enjoy the presentation. If it's not going the direction you want, raise your hand, interrupt me. I want nothing more than to have feedback and to understand what is and is not helpful to you guys. Let me get a little bit of an understanding of you guys. How many guys are engineers? Raise the hands, let me see engineering. Okay, PMs, business developer types. Okay, cool, okay, I've got a mix there. So I can be pretty geeky. I can get away with some pretty technical jokes. I'll try to keep it lighthearted and fast. Why did I choose sex? For several reasons, all right. So developing for Facebook was like having tantric sex for several reasons. First of all, the expectations were extremely low, all right? But you have to do something right. You have to be good at something, you have to improve, you have to adapt, and most importantly, you're never done, all right? Developing on Facebook, you never finish, all right? This goes on forever. Let's see, where's my... Sweet. So let's talk about the low expectations. All right, so I'm just going to go out on a limb here. Every single game the first year of Facebook's development sucked. They were awful. Every single one, especially mine. All right, I'll be the first to point that at myself. All of our games sucked. They were awful, they were terrible, okay? We did terrible things, all right? One of the things that I thought was this incredibly brilliant insight was to tie gameplay and like leveling to platform. I say platform constants, but honestly, like anything on the platform is more platform variables. All right. I thought it was very clever to tie certain rewards to developing or asking the user to behave a certain way on the platform. And as soon as the platform evolved and changed, I broke my level curves, all right? Nothing sucks more than spending a weekend going like, okay, Facebook changed this on me and I can no longer ask the users to do this. And my nice, even, beautiful level curve is now wonky and feels like a broken game. I saw people develop games that actually let you lose experience. That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen in a game, and if you do it, you're retarded. Alright? Like, nobody wants to lose experience. You can kill a user, but don't take progress away. Alright? Like, nobody does that, alright? Like, I mean, any game worth its salt does not remove experience from it. We had terrible production qualities. Awful, alright? I didn't have any animation in any of my games. Nobody did, alright? We used clip art. And I'm actually not kidding about this. There was clip art in so many of these games. They were so embarrassing and ugly and awful. Alright? But, why did people play these games, even though they sucked? You had two choices. You could play a game that sucked, or you could work, alright? That was our saving grace. We were better than working. That's it. Alright? I mean, it's like if you gave me a choice between being punched in the face or punched in the stomach, I'm gonna be like, stomach. It's a little better than the face. That's it. Alright? But we were good at one thing, alright? Really and truly, like all of the initial game developers on Facebook, we were good at virality, okay? We didn't know a thing about game design any more than a huge like film buff knows about writing or directing a movie, right? But we were willing to learn, alright? And we did know virality. A lot of the folks that like came down and you know, first started building these games, we understood virality. We had worked on other projects in the social networking space, and these are things we did actually understand and know how to do. Which doesn't sound like much, but at the time that was enough to actually build something. So next up, we had to be willing to improve, all right? The developers that couldn't scale, they all died, all right? Scaling was a huge issue. There aren't that many people in the Valley that actually seem to know how to scale. I would love to go back to college and take my Database 101 class again so that I could stand up and tell the teacher he's so fucking wrong. Anybody that's ever scaled MySQL knows that foreign keys are a piece of shit. Everybody knows that auto-increment by ID is a terrible idea. Like, all these things that they teach you in terms of like nice data integrity and this is how you scale something, that's great in theory. And if you only ever have 100 users, it works. But as soon as you get to like millions, you're less interested in your database integrity and you're more interested in being able to get some sleep. And MySQL just cannot handle a lot of the things you ask it to do. And, you know, yeah, there are other options like Oracle, and anybody that's building a game out of their basement doesn't really have the budget for that, so it doesn't happen. Tolerance for downtime and bugs. We got so many free passes at first. It was great. Users were like, well, I'm used to Facebook not working, so it's no big deal if the apps don't work either. It's true. And like, you know, now we had to do a little bit better, all right? Production qualities did start to increase, all right? The clip art did slowly start to fade to the background, and you started getting like actual artists, which is what I did. Previously, I just had people, I was desperate. I was asking every friend I could that could make art to be like, hey, you're an artist, right? And they're like, I had like an art class? I was like, yes, that's one more than me. So you're my artist now. Eventually these production qualities did start to increase. You did start to have people that brought animation in, and things like mechanic design became relevant, game balance did. You honestly can't make games that completely suck anymore, all right? You can still make games that suck a little bit, but not completely. It used to be such a free pass, all right? And the reason that you can't make games that suck anymore is that the Facebook platform has grown up significantly, all right? At first, we had this adorable, cute little fun thing that was great, and grew up a little bit. Fast and ugly and hideous, and it was a nightmare after about the end of the first year of development on Facebook's platform, all right? Then it started to get pretty hot again, all right? We started to get some nice things out of the platform. It wasn't just, you know, an abusive, horrible, disastrous environment. We had this like nice, cool, sexy platform where you could do some interesting things. Facebook never stops. You really, really wish it had stayed. By the way, I love that I have excuses to put lasers on dinosaurs in a presentation is so awesome. I wish Facebook had stayed like this, all right? But it's not, all right? It's only going to continue to evolve and adapt. By the way, bonus points, does anyone recognize this picture? Ah, nice. All right, so anyway, somebody else. That's all right, ladies, pay attention. The man saw the fountain. So anyway, Fountain is a beautiful, wonderful, amazing movie, all right? It's nothing like the preview, all right? Like, you think it's this exciting action, oh my God, it's like, you know, conquistadors, Spanish Inquisition, that sort of thing. That's like 30 seconds of the movie. The rest of it is, what's his name, Wolverine? Yeah, it's Wolverine. Yeah, being sad and crying. Seriously, Wolverine cries in this movie. So that's kind of what Facebook platform feels like today, all right? It's never stopped evolving, it's never going to, right? And your games are going to have to evolve on them. This has been one constant, all right? The only constant really has been change, all right? You're not in control of the platform, you never will be. This platform evolves quickly and always will continue to. The easiest analogy is you cannot swim in the ocean. You have to surf, all right? Otherwise you are going to drown, all right? Some specific examples of this is that in the time that I have worked on Facebook platform, Newsfeed has undergone 8 major re-architectures. This means that 8 different times in my life, I have spent an inordinate amount of my time changing the way I integrate with Facebook's newsfeed, and at the end of the day, all I got was the same fucking thing I happened to have before I started. There's nothing more frustrating than doing a ton of work to end up with, okay, I didn't lose anything. It's almost like that game where you lose experience points if you don't do anything. Yeah, that's what Facebook platform can be like. You have to adapt though. What are you gonna do? If you don't do that, are you honestly gonna accept no newsfeed integration? You might as well just like, you know, you might as well just like turn the servers off, save yourself the time. Notifications underwent several re-architectures. The most recent of one was a complete removal from the platform. Well, I mean, you know, Facebook still has notifications, but nobody here gives a shit because you can't touch them. So notifications used to be this amazing, fantastic re-engagement channel. Some people used them as a viral channel, and as a result, Facebook took the toy away from everybody. Invitations have also undergone several re-architectures. They kind of suck now compared to where they used to be. Users used to love getting invitations, and like the throughput rates were amazing. All right. Counters. Is anybody using counters right now? You wasted your time. I did too. I implemented counters, and I was like, oh sweet. Notifications are going. I'm going to do this fun stuff with counters. They were dead on arrival. All right. The one most interesting thing you can take away from virality is that on Facebook's platform, any given iteration and version of a channel, of a viral channel, has diminishing returns, okay? So the current version of counters, like counters has to change, it has to evolve, and the next version is gonna have a different, viral coefficient for someone that really knows how to take advantage of them, but you're gonna get diminishing returns over time no matter what. In the absence of a re-architecture, counters will never be interesting or valuable or have anything interesting to contribute to any game, all right? So, and that's going to be true of every single one of these channels, all right? The next version of invitations may have maybe a much more interesting viral channel, but it will have diminishing returns over the next several months as people take advantage of it and leverage it. That's what you're going to have to remember. Is every single one of these changes, and as they change, you're going to have to hop on them, figure out how to optimize, and you need to expect you're going to get decay in every single channel constantly. Obviously not so much that the platform is not interesting, but it can be very challenging from an emotional like roller coaster ride perspective. This is, like the platform, every version of it starts out at its very best, and you get decay. Most importantly, you're never done. Your game is done, it's amazing, it's beautiful, it's time to release, but no, it's a trap. Users want more content, they want more features, they want ponies, they want unicorns, they want your soul. Games would be perfect on social networks if it weren't for users and their constant fucking whining. It's true. I mean, anybody in here that loves all their users is either lying to me or they've never been up 3 days straight because of user complaints. I once remember like one of the worst days of my life was waking up and my Gmail was inaccessible because it had gotten over 50,000 emails the night before. the Facebook error page had my email address on pauses. I had so many support requests. I turned them over to our support queue. I had to give everybody access to my email, and I was going through it, and I was like, oh crap, what's in my email? Is there anything like, you know, scandalous? But then I remembered my life is boring. And so, like, yeah, I mean, it was just like one of these situations where I declared email bankruptcy because I couldn't do anything else. This was after contacting Google and begging friend after friend to put me in touch with someone that worked at Gmail so that I could finally get my account unblocked, because it looked very suspicious for me to overnight get so many emails. But yeah, most of all what users want, though anything else, is they want a better Facebook game. You're going to have to give it to them, all right? They actually want more animation, they want more content, they want all these sort of fantastic things. But the bar is higher now. You have to build these more expensive games. They are more time consuming. These viral channels, as I mentioned, they do have diminishing returns, and you're not going to anymore have a game that is going to magically spread by virtue of being a slightly better game. You need a user acquisition plan beyond simply saying, hey, I'm going to release a better game than anything else. I have seen better games on Facebook than Frontierville. I've seen better games than Farmville, but without like a user acquisition plan beyond being a simply better game, it's not sufficient anymore to like spread magically through and like make, you know, millions and millions of users happy and, you know, bring joy to the eyes of children and all that shit. So keep in mind, you do need to build better games. Do keep in mind that these channels do diminish over time. And have I run over time?
No.
No? I'm not good? All right, sweet. And I did want to apologize for constantly, you know, bringing up sex. I realized that it's kind of a cheap shot to bring that up a couple times throughout the talk and to make you think about tantric sex. But in my defense, if I were to tell you, hey, think about pink elephants, or don't think about pink elephants, right? You know, what does everybody do? They think about sex. So I would like to point out that one of the most relevant and interesting things you can take from this, hopefully, is just that the Facebook platform does evolve. You got to evolve with it. And these channels that seem magically delicious and that you can just be like, oh, I'll throw something at it, it'll be, you know, hopefully viral. There's a lot of work there. And it's constant and ever-changing and a blast. Thank you. Appreciate it.
On one of your slides, you had
Can you repeat the question? Oh, yeah, of course.
you had constant versus variable, something about Facebook games, constants and variables.
Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't quite understand.
Oh, so I'll give you a specific example. The question was, what were some of the constants that I said, you know, became variable on Facebook's platform that affected my gameplay? So one of the things that I did, and several people did, was we tied particular game balance issues to platform, what we believe to be platform constants. Okay, so here's an example. When Facebook released their invite control, they allowed us to have 20 invites per user per person, right? And at that time, there was no restriction on rewarding a user for sending invitations to a friend. There is now. But several people made a game balance issue around that, and they're like, oh, if you invite 20 friends, then, you know, that's the max allowed, and, you know, here's the reward. It's nice little, like, you know, cookie cutter baked in, awesome, my game is balanced. A few months after that, Facebook changed, and based on invitation acceptance, they made it a variable. And so what previously was 20 for everyone became 8 for some, 12 for you later, possibly 40, depending on user response to your invitations. That broke several games, because now what was balanced and nice, now we had this wonky, terrible effect, and we could no longer balance to that. Because now it's like, well, I can't give the same reward to someone for doing 12 invitations that I did 8 yesterday, now that my number has changed. That became like a unifying theme, is that you could not tie your game balance to platform, what seemed like constants, but were actually everything on the platform is variable. Yes?
By user acquisition, I teach marketing. Do you actually mean that marketing is becoming more valued by the, I'll just say, geeky game designers, if you will, that the fields are finding ways to collaborate? Because you have to distinguish yourself more?
Yeah, so the question was that by saying that you need user acquisition strategies, she's asked whether game developers have decided that marketing is more relevant and critical to the success of their games. Anyone that knows what they're doing, absolutely. I mean, if someone is going to like be dismissive and say, oh, I don't need a marketing strategy, I don't need a user acquisition strategy, they're kidding themselves. You know, I mean, now, if you're at Zynga, you know, part of that strategy is like amazing volume of cross promotion, right? I mean, they have a set strategy and they have that access that, you know, honestly, like for a lot of other people, if you're starting out brand new, I mean, they can effectively do what you may need a $3 or $4 million ad budget to accomplish. A lot of people don't have that, so you need, you know, I mean, if you have gobs of money, throw gobs of money at it. It's awesome, but most of you are going to have to do something new, right? Something different, and that may require partnerships with other companies. I mean, you know, viral marketing is, you know, I know sexy and nice and neat, but it's hard. If it was easy, everyone would do it. And certainly, like, there are elements of Facebook that, you know, have plenty of virality in them to still squeeze on and exploit, and you're going to have to tap into them intelligently. Messaging is important. A lot of people neglect that. It amazes me how many people neglect messaging in their games. Like, every time you get an invitation, it's a sales pitch. And if you treat it as anything other than that, like, you're kidding yourself. You're selling two people in a single message, and that's incredibly hard to do. You have to sell the user sending the message out and the recipient. And to do so in a brief, intelligent way that's accessible and that doesn't, you know, that actually is effective and gets you through, it's very hard. Very few people are good at it. Yes?
What's like one of the best use of email marketing that you've seen be used in a game?
Email marketing? I actually, the question was, what's the best use of email marketing in a game that I've seen? I actually can't speak to a specific example. I haven't seen anybody, and I'm not aware of, I would love it if someone had data on incredibly useful, like tapping into the email channel through Facebook. I'm not aware of anyone that's had great success there. The consistent story I hear from people is it fucking sucks. So if someone has a counter story, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, don't send me emails.
Yeah, I mean, the like from what I've heard is like the channel was, you know, even the bigger players.
What about SMS? SMS has been kind of crappy too.
I think Zynga has seen some success with SMS because they seem to continue investing in it. But I don't know what their numbers are like. I don't know what the throughput is like. I assume that the reason they're continuing to do it is that they get good results. I don't know of anybody else that's doing well there. Yes?
Are you able to point to the top 2 or 3 characteristics that you've seen as either being universal or in the majority of really popular games, aside from a large marketing budget? You know, to give you an example, I'm new to this industry, but as I started to look around, I found a surprising number of games that where you can't lose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, things along those lines that just seem to be ubiquitous in most of the best games.
Yeah. So the question was if I could speak to like the top 3 characteristics of games that I seem like for the most successful, the most prevalent, and what those characteristics seem to be. The thing, I think you brought up a great point in that like you can't lose. I mean, a lot of these people that are playing, you know, social games, they don't like this like feeling of loss. The big like withholding is you didn't win, all right? Rather than you lose, you have to start over. What I see as those characteristics that are most important is people like games need to be accessible in like nice little bite-sized chunks. If your game requires a 20-minute tutorial, don't even build it. It's not going to work on Facebook. It's a waste of your time, I'm not kidding. 20 minutes is kiss of death because these people playing these games on Facebook, they're not at home. These aren't your World of Warcraft users that are like, hey Blake, I'd love to go hang out with you, but I've got a raid at 8:30 tonight, and you know I'm the tank. So I'm not missing that. No, these are people at work, and they fucking hate their boss, and they want to like plant something, and then oh my God, boss is coming, like, control window, everything goes down, or control D, or window D. Yeah, window D is the one I push. Okay, I need to speed it up. But yeah, so these 5-minute, like, little bite-sized accessible moments in playing a game, you need to deliver the user experience tantamount to how people are interacting with Facebook already. That's the time frame they have. Another big thing is go easy on the text. I don't want to read a fucking book. I'm playing a game. And some people, like, their tutorial is so wordy and long. I don't need that. I want pictures that explain things. And I like reading when I'm reading a book, but come on, I'm playing a game. Don't give me a manual. Another thing that's really big, like in terms of like getting a wide user base, is accessible things. All right. So you see, like, farming is this ubiquitous, cute, accessible, friendly, like, you have big sad eyes on the characters. I mean, that's just, it is, it's cute, and like, cute has a larger audience than dark, all right? I mean, if I release a game tomorrow that was, I like to cut myself, yeah, I'm gonna get all the emo kids on Facebook, but don't kid yourself. That's not nearly as big as the Farmville audience, right? There are way more people that, like cute things than dark things. So, I do hate emo kids. God, they're so bad. I need to run up it up. I will be around afterwards. Let's take one more, if that's okay.
I was asking, how far away are we in let's say, for years in better 3D graphics?
Better 3D graphics in these type of games. So I think we're in an interesting crossroads. Yeah, we're in an interesting crossroads because the latest version of Flash gives you hardware acceleration, and Adobe's been promising this for a long time. So, in the absence of hardware acceleration, you can't do anything interesting with 3D. And I think what we're dealing with now is we're going to see like the first games maybe that can actually take advantage of that are in production. It may be a year, not because the market's not ready for it, but it may be a year just because that's how long it takes to build a game like that. What's going to be more interesting is if the audience reacts to that and how they respond. 3D is a lot. My grandma likes planting crops, but if I gave her a 3D shooter, oh, I'm playing a game, right? So it may actually be that the audience isn't ready for it, and that that's too hardcore of an approach for it.
All right, guys, let's give it a big round of applause.